Let's start streaming. Let's try this again. We're doing this. All right. Hey, look. Looks like we're streaming right now. Let's get over here. See what's good. See if this is working. Hey, everybody. Brent Allen here, and I am testing out some of our new equipment. Hey, there we go. Look at that. Let's make sure this is muted so you guys don't double hear some stuff. But hey, listen, guys, for those of you out there, sorry for the real wonky beginning. Wanted to put this little video out. It is about, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the morning. And we just completed the fantasy draft for the BFC of our Pewtercast Fantasy Football League. That would be the Brent Football Conference Ren, and the RFC still has yet to do his, as far as I understand. I'm not sure when they are scheduled, but we have ours. Ours is done, and I started thinking about one of the commitment levels we have over our Patreon group is a weekly like fantasy football, like our takes on weekly fantasy football. And I asked Ren if he wanted to do this, and he said, no, absolutely, I don't want anything to do with fantasy football. And I completely understand why, as far as this kind of stuff. I don't know, maybe he'll change his mind later. Maybe not, I don't know. And so I'm doing this. I'm putting this out on our main YouTube feed, but I'm doing this for a couple reasons. One, I want to kind of give all of you guys out there a little idea of what this is going to look like. Two, I'm also testing out some new equipment. So we're going to try some stuff here with this. I see a couple of you actually have joined us in the chat room. You guys are up late. Ren, it is in the mail tomorrow, my friend. And I apologize, and don't hold me to that until it's actually in the mail. But I'll get it out there to you guys tomorrow. And Brandon says I was going to say. So anyway, guys, so let's try something, and let's see if this works. Because we're getting ready to get into, this is not the Patreon thing. This will give you an idea of what the Patreon exclusive feed will look like as far as the fantasy football stuff. But today I'm going to talk about drafting the Buccaneers. So we're looking at the Buccaneer players, and we're going to talk about what at least I think you should do as far as drafting those guys. So let's bring in some of this fancy new stuff that we have. Guys, check this out. This should work. It's going to be beautiful. Boom! That's cool. What do you guys think, huh? What do you guys think? This is pretty neat. I like this. We've been working. I told you guys, we're going to continue to work and try to get all of our systems better, and we're going to try to get everything going. We got this nice Pewtercast logo up here. Hey, if you guys want to join us in Patreon, check it out right down here. Patreon.com/thepewtercast. We talk about it just about every show. But guys, today, yeah, Ren is in the chat room right now watching me do this. I have no plan for how this is going to go. And he's like, ooh, I know, Ren. Ren, imagine when you're, let's hear, what side is it on? It's on this side. No, it's over here. Ren, imagine when you're like right there and like your picture's there and we're up side by side. That'd be totally awesome. So it's not on this template, but we could make one happen for you to get that going. So anyway, guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through drafting these Bucks. I'm going to give you guys my takes on these guys. You guys are in the chat room. If you want to chime in, go for it. So let's go ahead and bring this next bit up. Boom. Wait, boom. I've got to get used to this. So the guys are going to come up one by one. Listen, I could put a lot more detail in here, but really I'm testing this. So I wasn't trying to go too crazy, and this took me a long time to put together anyway, but I'll get faster at it. I promise. So we'll just run straight down the list of these are like potentially draftable people in fantasy football. All right, if you guys are getting into fantasy football. So we'll start at the top just like we always do. We'll run through actually the fantasy order of how these things work. And by the way, if I'm not looking at you, it's because the camera is like way up here, but I'm monitoring everything down here. So if I'm not, I will do my best to always look at the camera, but I can't promise that that's always what's going to happen. So first up in the list, there's Massive Thunder. Sorry, guys. Massive Thunder. Ryan Fitzpatrick. Let's talk about him at the quarterback position. And we'll get this pulled down a little bit. Guys, listen, Ryan Fitzpatrick is a guy that I am just going to tell you guys No, don't don't draft him. I just would not draft him. Listen, nothing against Ryan Fitzpatrick. He is I am perfectly comfortable stepping into these first 3 games with him. He is a journeyman quarterback. There are other quarterbacks. There are tons of other quarterbacks. Even if you're in a 12-man league, Ryan Fitzpatrick is not the 12th in the top 12 best quarterbacks in the league. So this is not a guy I'd look at drafting. You maybe might possibly could consider him for the bench, drafting him as like a backup potentially, maybe for a bye week. But I still think you probably are going to get better quarterbacks even for your bench uh, late in your draft. So I'm sorry Ryan. Lots of respect for you, bud, but I am just saying no to drafting um, Ryan Fitzpatrick. So, all right, coming up next, obviously we have another quarterback on our team, Jameis Winston, and I actually kind of want to watch it. I'm monitoring the YouTube feed. I want to see it come up here. Should be fun here. But Jameis Winston. Now, Jameis Winston is a guy that I would potentially consider drafting. All right. He's a guy that you just have to understand he's going to be suspended for the first 3 games. So he's not going to be the first quarterback that you want to draft this year. All of us are Buccaneer homers. Listen, I get it. We know the potential that Jameis has. And that's why I'm putting Jameis in as one of your deep backups. Just make sure that the bye week of whatever other quarterback you draft is not week 4. And we're golden. Jameis, I think Jameis will be very, very good as a backup. And depending on who you pick, Jameis could be a guy that might actually wind up in your starting job as the season progresses. So, but I do think that you can save Jameis and get him late in the draft. Okay, so it's not something you need to worry about spending an early draft pick on. I think you can just get him a little bit later in the draft. So, all right, that is him. All right, let's move on. Our next position we are looking at is running back Peyton Barber. He is our RB1. I like Peyton Barber in the draft. I like Peyton Barber in fantasy football this year. Here's the thing, guys. You don't have to draft Peyton Barber. Like you can draft other players, and unless you're in a league with a bunch of other Buccaneer fans, he'll probably just sit out there because nobody knows who he is. You know what I mean? So you could actually draft some other people and then bring him in for like a bye week, or if he's doing really good, or just save him and tuck him away and let him be a flex player, maybe an RB2, and just tuck him away and get him way towards the end of the draft. Now, if you guys are in another league with a whole bunch of other Bucks fans, you're not going to be able to hide him. You're not going to be able to hide anybody on this list with other Buck fans. We know that, and we should certainly understand that. So, Peyton Barber, I like drafting him. I also like not drafting him, but saving him as a post draft pickup. He also, depending on how well he does, if Peyton Barber does as good as I think he's going to do, it's potential trade for something else a little bit later. You maybe package him with something else and get a higher player. So he's going to be a sneaky late round draft pick. Sneaky, sneaky, sneaky. All right, let's. Uh-oh. Hold on, I'm coming. Hold on. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. See, this is why I'm testing all of this stuff, because I'm still working it out. Okay, next person coming up here I've got on the list is running back Ronald Jones. Now, I did notice in my draft, on my draft board, Ronald Jones was not as far down the list as I would have thought he would have been. He was actually fairly high, which means Ronald Jones is a guy who, for people who don't follow Tampa Bay, if they're just going by the predictions and just by the scores, they're probably going to draft him a little bit higher than he honestly ought to be drafted. Now, uh, if you listen to Ren and I, you listen to our show, you listen to other people out there, we'll all tell you guys, listen, we know Ronald Jones didn't have that great of a preseason. We know that he got like 1 yard per carry or something through the preseason. We are still reserving all judgment. At least I am reserving all judgment on these guys until week 6. Who knows what we have with Ronald Jones? We really don't. Dirk Cutter said that he is worried He said, and he'd be right to be worried, okay? But he also really doesn't understand why, because Ronald Jones is doing all the right things as far as practice goes and the playbook and getting his head around the game. They've just not been able to spring him loose, whatever that means. So, that said, I am not drafting Ronald Jones. I need to actually see production from him on the field before I draft him. I'm not even keeping him on my bench because there's other players that have shown us something to be on the bench. Now, once Ronald Jones starts making those moves, and we as Bucks fans will keep an eye on that, once you start seeing that, then maybe I'd snatch him up, maybe replace whoever is deep on my bench and bring him in. And again, you're looking maybe another flex player. He's a rookie. He may or may not light it up this season. It doesn't look like he probably will. And this is Peyton Barber's time to shine. So I don't anticipate Ronald Jones being a huge fantasy impact. I think you'll actually get much more bang out of Peyton Barber this year. So, Rojo, no offense to you, I'm just not saying to draft you. All right, moving on to a different position, wide receiver Mike Evans. Guys, listen, Mike, some of those top guys might be gone. Mike Evans is a great guy. I think I drafted him. Did I draft him first? I think I drafted him second, but I had like really close picks between the two rounds because I had a late pick. So we did a snake draft. But listen, Mike Evans, if you can get him, take him. It's going to be worth your money. It's going to be worth the only thing. And admittedly, this is a homer pick for me. All right, the only thing about Mike Evans, and this is going to go for all of our guys in the wide receiver room. We have so many, and our tight ends as well. If you're drafting Buccaneers, there's so many that you talk about spreading that ball around. Who's going to get the is Mike Evans going to get the bulk of his carries? Is he going to be as prolific or is the ball going to be a little bit more spread around? And that's really the thing. But Mike Evans is still Mike Evans. He's still, in my opinion, a top 5 receiver, at least a top 7 receiver in the league. And he's worth a first round. He's a first round, second, very high in the second round. I don't think he's going to last very long in a league that has anybody who knows what they're talking about. All right. Moving on down the wide receiver field, I've got Deshaun Jackson is coming up next. Now, Deshaun Jackson is one of those guys, I'm going to put him in middle to late round drafting. Yes, you should draft him. If he is still on the board, you want to put him out there. He's probably a really good flex player, maybe a wide receiver too on a bye week. But a flex player, definitely a guy to have on your bench as well. You never know when he's going to spring loose. The problem is Deshaun Jackson is going to be one of these feast or famine guys in fantasy, I think. He'll have certain games that he just busts off 20, 30 points because he gets some big run. Then the other games, he'll be around 10. So, he's a draftable player for sure. Absolutely. I'm just not taking him too early at all. And that said, same thing is actually going for the next guy, Chris Godwin. Now, I think it's going to be very interesting this year in fantasy to check the difference between Chris Godwin and Deshaun Jackson because I'm curious to see what their point totals wind up at the end of the year. I have a feeling they'll be fairly similar. But I do think that Chris Godwin, kind of like Peyton Barber, is one of those sneaky late round draft picks that you can probably pick up in your 9th or 10th round, maybe your 12th round, maybe a little earlier. Maybe that 9th or 10th round is a good spot for Chris Godwin. He's definitely a draftable player, definitely in that flex zone, a bench player filling for a bye week. And if he gets hot during the season, then you slide him in at maybe even a wide receiver too, if that's depending on who else you have out there. So that is certainly a deal to go there. All right, final wide receiver that we're going to talk about, obviously we're talking about the big 4, is going to be Adam Humphries. Adam Humphries, listen guys, if you have a lot of people and a lot of the wide receivers are gone and you get down and Adam Humphries is a guy, listen, he's a sneaky guy. At best he's going to be a bench player to fill in for a bye week though, okay? Just the way they're going to use him. So probably not a guy that I'm drafting right away. I'm going to use that on other positions. other players, even in the wide receiver position, to be my drafted flex player. I'm going to keep an eye on him though. I'm going to watch him. You can click the little button in the app that says I want to watch this player. You're going to watch him and see what he does throughout the year. Maybe you pick him up, maybe you trade him, do an ad player. Somebody gets injured. Adam Humphries is a guy to pick up later. So that is a potential. All right, moving on. Cameron Brate. All right, let's talk about Cameron Brate. Cameron Brate is I believe Ren told me, and I just haven't verified this anywhere else. Okay, I'm not saying I don't believe him. I've just not seen this anywhere else. But I feel like Ren told me that OJ Howard has actually moved above Cameron Brate on the depth chart. Now, I'm not entirely sure how to read this depth chart because in the depth chart they're going to put two tight ends out there, and it's going to be Cameron Brate and OJ Howard. So it's kind of like Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson. Like they're both out at the same time. So who you're putting? So with both of those guys out there, but if you have to pick between the two, and I'll say that. And actually, here, let me go ahead. I'll just put them both up because I'm kind of talking about them both here at the same time. Between Cameron Brate and OJ Howard, for me and my money, if both are sitting there and I'm ready to draft a tight end, probably around. Okay, my order generally is I actually like, even in PPR leagues and all that kind of stuff, I really like getting a quarterback first. I like getting that Aaron Rodgers. If I can get him, I'm going to take him. Tom Brady is another one of those two guys. I really want to get those guys first. And I know that that's bad strategy when it comes to fantasy football, but the points that those guys get, man, you just got to do it. But, so what you got a quarterback, you're going to have a running back, you're going to have a wide receiver, maybe another running back. So you're probably looking about a 5th, 6th round, maybe a 7th round. You're starting to look at a tight end and filling out that tight end spot, right? So this is for me, if both of these two guys are sitting there and you want to choose a Buccaneer or they're equal to everybody else that's out there as far as other tight ends, I think I'm actually choosing OJ Howard. I think OJ Howard's going to have a better fantasy year than Cameron Brate. However, I think Cameron Brate's going to have a fairly equal fantasy year. I just think if in a side-by-side comparison, OJ Howard's probably going to catch a couple more points on fantasy than Cameron Brate will this year. That's just a guess, gut feeling. I have nothing else to back that up other than what Ren told me, and it does seem like as I'm watching the preseason, as I was watching camp, it does seem to be that balls and scoring drives and stuff are going more towards OJ Howard than they are Cameron Brate this year. It's just what it seems like. Who knows what that's going to be like once we get to the actual deal. But guys, listen, both of these guys are there. If OJ Howard's gone, take Cam Brate. If Cam Brate's gone, take OJ Howard. Don't have a problem with either one of those two. Not at all. All right, guys. Just a couple of more in here. Next on the list is the defense/special teams, and that one they do by teams. And so if you're looking at the Buccaneers, here's what I would simply say: not yet. All right, guys. I haven't gone too deep into this, and we'll go on to this probably in our next upcoming episode of the Pewtercast. I'm not sold on this defense yet, guys. I'm just not. The offense looks amazing. Last year, they had problems with scoring in the red zone. They seem to have fixed that this year. And the offense looks great all the way around. However, I'm still not sold on the defense. All right, I know we've massive upgrades to this defensive line. I've got to see them in a real game situation. I've got to see what Mike Smith is really going to put together with those guys. And then the linebacking core. Listen, we've got Levante, we've got Quan. Quan had a really great rookie year. He's had a couple of pretty good years since. All right. Last year he went to the Pro Bowl. I get it. But he was like a 5th alternate. Right. So, and I'm not trying to take that away from him. I'm really, really not. I'm just saying the linebacking core is a little weird. Okay. You got Quan, who I still need to see more out of him. You've got Levante, but now we've got Kendall Beckwith, who's going to be gone on the PUP list, which means we've got Darius Taylor, who's fine. He's good as a backup, but is he starter caliber? I don't know. And then after that, we've got a rookie in Jack Sitchie and a couple. We got Cam Lynch, who's one of those guys. I like him, but he's one of those guys we keep trying to upgrade a little bit. And then we've got this other guy, Harris, I think is his name. So we'll see We'll see what that linebacker. Listen, Mark Duffner, the linebackers coach, he won the Pewtercast Award last year for Coach of the Year, and the linebacking core last year seemed to be the strongest on our entire defense, the strongest unit on our defense. So maybe they'll be just fine. But I have yet to really see what I want to see out of the defensive line yet. The linebacking core is a little shaky to me, and then that defensive backfield, man, the cornerbacks and safeties. I'm just not fully sold on this defense yet. I just need to see it in action. So I am not drafting the Buccaneers. There are 31 other. I'm not saying that they're zero. They're absolutely not zero on my list, but you're probably only drafting one defense. You might draft two, and in that case, I think that you're probably going to find uh, lots of other. Uh, you're gonna find other teams. You're gonna find other defenses that will probably give you more bang for your buck. However, watch the Buccaneers, see what they're doing throughout. Watch it in your fantasy app, see what they're doing, and maybe you take a flyer on them one week. Maybe your defense is on bye week, and so you pick them up and just see what they do. You could try it out. Let's see what happens. But listen, if the Buccaneers get hot, you're gonna want them, right? Especially because you're a Bucs fan. So. I'm just not drafting them. I'm just not. All right. Final person on the draft that you guys want to look at here is the kicker, Chandler Catanzaro. It's the only one that you're going to find that's wearing a Buccaneers uniform out there. The kicker, Chandler Catanzaro. Listen, I think he's going to be fine. Listen, these kickers, how often are the Buccaneers going to be kicking this year? Hopefully not a lot. All right. Chandler Catanzaro, I think his average is probably gonna be normal across the league. He's not gonna be low. I know he missed a couple in preseason. One of them was from a bad snap. At least one was from a bad snap, maybe two. I don't know. But listen, I think he's gonna be fine. Kicker is one of those middle of the road. How often are you guys really gonna be kicking? Hopefully the Bucs aren't kicking that much. Hopefully it's just a bunch of extra points. We're not really kicking many field goals. So, you might actually want to look at one of these other guys. Certainly if you can get a more veteran, big name kicker on your team, a Steven Guskowski or a Matt Bryant or something like that, absolutely I'd go with them. But Chandler Catanzaro, he'll be fine. This would be, to me, a Chandler Catanzaro pick would be like a homer pick. A homer pick. He'll probably kick 85-90% this year. That'd be my guess. So, people are watching. Wow. Shout out to everybody over in the chat room, in the YouTube chat room. That's pretty cool. It's 1:00 in the morning, man. What are you guys doing up? I'm gonna let you guys have that conversation. I don't want to dive into that. All right, guys. Listen, that is gonna do it. This is kind of how the Patreon exclusive feed. Now, going forward, I'm not gonna do any more of these live on YouTube for everybody else to see. This, you have to be a patron in order to do this, and we'll go through this and we'll talk about, do you sit Jameis Winston or do you play him this week? Do you sit Peyton Barber? Do you play him? Do you sit Mike Evans or do you play him? We'll go through and we'll do this. It'll be quick and dirty, 10, 15 minutes tops, really, is what it's going to be. So this is one of our patron benefits, depending on what level you're at. Other patron benefits, exclusive content that comes out. We're going to give you all the PFF notes that we get sent. You're going to, which I got to put those out for the last two games. You're going to get, exclusive previews of various things. Listen, being a patron has its privileges. All right. Just a couple of weeks ago, preseason game 3, a couple of patrons got to go with me and sit with me in the club section while we watched the game, because I was able to score a couple extra tickets and bring a couple of them along. So, you guys are awesome. You guys can do that. Check it out right there. Patreon.com/thepewtercast. Hope to see you guys over there. That community is growing, man. I think we got 2 new patrons today, which is really cool. So thank you to everybody who is joining us in our Patreon group. You guys are awesome. You guys, listen, this stuff is not all free. You guys help make this happen. So thank you guys so much. And hey, listen, guys, Ren and I are going to be back. I think we got a show coming out later on this week. It's going to kind of be our Buck in the News type show. The Instant Cast is coming back, guys. Listen, 9 o'clock. See, now look, if I was really great, I'd have all these graphics prepared. I'd be popping them up right now, but I'm not, because this was really a test. I think it worked. I think I'm going to call this one a success. But Ren and I will be back for the Instant Cast, 9 o'clock on Sunday night after the game. It's a 1 o'clock game at New Orleans. 9 o'clock, we'll have the phone lines open, and you guys can call and give us your thoughts on the game, and we'll certainly be talking about that as well. We'll be back. We'll have a couple of shows coming out this week. Send us emails. We will do our fan interaction segments. Emails to thepewtercast@gmail.com. You can shoot us iTunes reviews over at iTunes. Just go over to iTunes, search for the Pewtercast, leave us a review. We'll read that on that show. Send us emails. We'll read those emails on the show. Send us questions. Tweet at us. Facebook us. We'll answer all those things coming up on the show. And guys, that'll get us. If you want to get in touch with the show, it's at the Pewtercast on Twitter or Facebook.com/the Pewtercast. Guys, that's going to do it. You find me at Burn Talent Live across all the social medias. You can find Ren, REN_DAXT. He is always down to talk Buccaneers football. And listen, guys, you're awesome. This has been a lot of fun. It's late and I'm going to get out of here. So peace out and go Bucks.